my name is Dr. Andrew Lobaz. I am one of the creators of Jointwave, and this is my friend Art Poisel. He's a chiropractor down in Tennessee. Um, I just wanted to bring Art on to kind of tell his experience about chiropractic care and adding Jointwave to it. And maybe you can tell us a little about your start, and then we'll kind of break in and make this kind of fun, man.
Okay. I practiced in Knoxville now for 19 years. I've practiced 22 years altogether. Um, over time, I've kind of evolved into doing a lot of hands-on soft tissue techniques along the way. 22 years in, it's kind of taken a toll on my hands um, to the point where I'd gotten to the point where I'd stopped doing one of the things that, people used to come see me for because, if you do a lot of soft tissue and you're good, along with chiropractic, you're going to get some tremendous results and people get better um, really, really quickly. And it's just how I built my practice and what worked for me. So Andy kind of put me on to this idea a couple of years ago, and the way it all kind of came about was I had a really bad shoulder injury, and I'm kind of one of those guys that once I get the way I do things down, that's how it's going to go. I'm almost dogmatic about it, so you're not going to really convince me
I think they
something's
call that
better until
stubborn.
what's
Stubborn is
that?
what they call this. Stubborn.
Yeah, pretty much. So, I mean, that's what's worked for me. I mean, I've built a decent sized practice in doing so, and to the point where at this point, yeah, I just even in economic downturns, I don't really worry about week to week stuff in the practice. It's going to stay pretty steady no matter what. And after 22 years, you should have a pretty decent sized patient base where that is the case, hopefully. But I've also experienced, from '04 to now, when I started working for my father back in 2004, I remember specifically just doing an adjustment, and we averaged two therapies, and we averaged $84 a patient. And when Obamacare hit Tennessee with ASHN and all that crap, and now since then, we've kind of gone to a globalized fee scale where it doesn't matter what you do in your office, they're just going to basically pay you a flat fee, and it's pretty much 55 to 60 bucks per patient. And then, by the time you add in Medicare patients, that can drop even lower than that. So I've experienced all that in my practice life. Um, so the positives of some of this of which with this joint wave has just been the increase in income for sure. One of the
Well,
biggest
let's
helps
let's
to
let's go back just a little bit. Like
okay,
whenever one thing that Art and I have been friends for a long time, and one thing that I know Art really enjoyed was playing golf.
yeah,
And
yeah,
his golf game used to be pretty good, and it kind of suffered from some shoulder injuries he was having.
yeah. So I injured my right shoulder, and there's a little bit of a caveat in this. There was another doctor in the office with me. He passed away about 5 years ago, so I wasn't being adjusted regularly anymore. Because generally speaking, when I'm busy, everybody else is busy, so it's just hard to get somewhere else to get it done. But I developed a really really bad shoulder strain, and then I started having a rib subluxate at T2 T3 area pretty commonly. Was starting to get a lot of hand numbness. And a lot of pain from it, just constant pain. And when that injury develops and you're adjusting people every day, it's rough. Like it's
Torture.
yeah.
Yeah.
So all this stuff was kind of happening. And 2 years ago, I went back to Logan to the symposium, and you were there, and you had been trying to talk me into getting one of these therapy machines, and I, you know, I I built up my reputation enough with all the different types of things that I did, like dry needling and Nemo and some techniques that you can't necessarily say their names because of all that crap that goes along with them. But I was really into like pin and stretching kind of soft techniques, soft tissue techniques. Um, and at the end of the day, like, my thumbs are just very, very arthritic now from doing stuff like that for 20 plus years. So, um, I was kind of sitting there going, am I selling my practice in the next 4 or 5 years? Because I don't know how much longer physically that I can keep this up just from arthritic development in joints from all those techniques, and they are physically hard on you. If you've
Yeah.
done them for a long time and do them every day, you're probably sitting there nodding your head, knowing exactly what I'm talking about. But so I go back to do seminar hours with you at Logan. I've got this really bad shoulder issue, and you put me on the joint wave, and in basically 3 minutes, all the pain was gone in my
Well,
shoulder.
let's back that up. First, we went to there was a booth out there that I noticed that I had the same shockwave unit.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
we it was kind of funny because we went out there and there was nobody there. So I just started, I said, Art, go ahead, take your shirt off, man. Let's do it. And, I'm just
I,
waiting for this guy to come back and kind of like growl at us. But
uh,
we just went ahead and did it anyway.
Pretty
And,
much that. Well, I didn't want to tell that story, but that's exactly how.
is what it
Yeah.
is. But it was a radial device,
Yeah.
and it worked pretty good. Like it kind of broke up some adhesions for him, and he kind of saw the light on, like, hey, I cannot break my hands doing this whole thing, and this
Well, and some of
worked
the
out pretty
caveat
good.
to that too, that I will add to that is it had gotten so painful that I really couldn't even let people set up on the rib head anymore and attempt to adjust it because it was so painful.
Yeah,
And there were very few people that could actually get it to move. And, my dad lives on the other end of the state. I was basically getting adjusted twice a year, and it really was not working very well for me. So then you
yeah,
talked me into this, and you could immediately adjust it. Not that you're not a great adjuster, you are, Andy. But you know, it was just a struggle for real, and the immediate relief that I had convinced me that I needed to buy one of the machines, and I did. And I started out with the Chattanooga radial machine, and it works pretty well. I would classify it more in a temporary category now after using the joint wave. The joint wave is definitely more effective long term. I have seen that from when I started out with the Chattanooga machine to this now. There is longer lasting results, and I really think it's because of the deeper penetration of the wave. I mean, this thing penetrates
yeah. And
3 to 4 times
essentially,
deeper into the tissue. So go ahead,
essentially
Andy.
the difference is the Chattanooga machine that you had was a radial device.
Yes,
And
yes,
I kind of describe that as it's kind of like a donut, but it's like a thin donut. So it kind of hits a bigger surface area, but it's kind of like not as penetrating.
yeah,
With
yeah.
the
And
joint wave,
I think the penetration from the joint wave is all the difference in having good long term results. And the way I guess, it's not just my opinion on this. I'm hearing this from my patients. Okay. So I started out with the radio machine first and ran it for about 6 months in the office. And I'm not going to knock that machine. I mean, you could put
no,
that in your practice and make it work. But you're going to get more temporary style results, and then particularly if the adhesions are deep. So when you start looking at people with frozen shoulders and things like that, you can get improved range of motion. But if the joints are uh, part of the restriction there, you're not going to really completely unfreeze one with either machine, honestly. But I'm thinking of one patient in particular that I did the radial machine with, and she felt like she felt better for, probably 3 or 4 weeks. And then it was right back where it was. I have since run this joint wave about 3 times on her in the last month. And the pain reduction was immediately different, um, more so than between the different styles of machine. Um, and a little bit better range of motion produced with the joint wave. But she's been like that for probably 15 years, so she's not ever going to really regain much range of motion. So I was talking to her about this, and I was like, because the skepticism in me, like I want to see,
Yeah.
is this really, is there really that much difference? And I mean, she just emphatically was way more positive about the focus shockwave machine than the radial machine. And I guess it's been a month, I guess, since I've done one on her, and she's still not having pain in the shoulder. So that already is a way better result there.
Yeah.
Um, Trying to think, my older brother actually fell in a garage and developed pretty bad hamstring issue. And we ran. This was actually going on in the transition between me getting one machine versus the machine I got from you. And I ran the radial machine first, the first treatment, and it eased it up, but he was still having deep pain in his hip joint. And so I went out of town to pick up this machine, and he fell again and re-injured the same hamstring in a different area. So now the whole thing's blown up, and he's having really deep hip pain. And um, so run it the I ran the radial pressure the second time, and it or yeah, the radial pressure wave machine the second time on him, because I was having some issues with the setup on there's a water system in these, and I was screwing that up myself. But after we got the second machine up, his third treatment was actually with the focus shockwave, and just a tremendous difference in the depth of treatment, the overall relaxation of the muscle. His hip pain went away. This is going on over a 3 week period roughly, because he's not really good at, he's my brother, so he takes that for granted kind of deal. But so he's not real good at showing up when I want him to, with these treatments. But I mean, we went from talking to, hey, have you torn a labrum? Should we get an orthopedic consult and an MRI and all that, to the third treatment I did on him, he went pain free and didn't show up again for 3 weeks. So, because he wasn't hurt, and that's him. He's that guy. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but and there's been plenty of these. Uh, I've seen enough in it to know that I'm going to sell my radial pressure machine now. It's sitting in a corner with dust on it right now, and I'm going to put it on eBay and get rid of it, because the new machine is just that much better. And
Yeah.
I've had the new machine up and running now for about 4 months, and it's doing everything I wanted to and more. It's definitely saved my hands. I feel like I can practice as long as I want to now. I don't feel
Yeah.
like there's a timeline there because my hands are deteriorating. It's actually helped my hands. I've released all the adhesions in my forearms now, so my hands don't hurt as much. Where I tried that with the other machine, and it just didn't seem to really kind of get it. It
Yeah.
felt better, but it didn't really seem to convince me that it was going to be a long-term solution. So
You'd mentioned something about maybe even calling some of the patients you tried the other machine on and
I
bringing
have
them
done
back
that.
in.
I have done that. And that's kind of what I was alluding to there. At first, truthfully, the ones that I felt like were mixed results, where they got some better but didn't fully get there, um, I called them back in. I was like, "Hey, I've got a new machine. I want to see if this one works better. I'm not going to charge you for this first visit. I want to know your honest opinion between the two." And
Yeah.
that did happen, and every one of them has, I mean, they all say the same thing that I've noticed myself, from the stuff that I've done to myself. It's just not my opinion. I've seen it with every one of these patients that I did it on in the past. Um, the one caveat I do think with the machine, and what I have found is when you get somebody with a bad knee, let's say it's bone on bone arthritis, okay, you can really improve all the soft tissue, but you're not going to fix that bone on bone deal. But you can decrease their pain a lot. And,
Sure.
really, to me, that kind of turned into like a maintenance care kind of deal. Like, okay, we can make this a lot better for a couple months, and then you're going to come in and do another one. And to me, that's still a lot better option than steroids and pain pills and all that other crap that the MDs and orthopedics want to throw at you, and the joint replacements and the surgeries. And there's a time and a place for all that. But my experience with that is sometimes, well, you guys that have practiced for a long time, I'm sure you've seen it all when it comes to how quick somebody's ready to do surgery. So there's also gets back to that study that basically if somebody shows up in a chiropractic office before they show up at an MD or a PT, there's a 40% less chance that they end up in front of a surgeon. And I think it's because chiropractic gets it right when it comes to that. So I don't think I
Yeah.
know that
Right.
to be the case, but this is the one tool that I can say goes right. It just takes place of all that soft tissue stuff that I used to do. And I get to charge for it. It's easy. It's over in 3 to 5 minutes. Setup time, you might be in there 10 minutes total. For me, I've not really advertised much out of clinic about this, although I'm going to do that. But I just, you know, the reality of the machine is if you just for to keep math numbers simple here, if you charged $100 each time you did this, okay, and you got, let's say you're seeing 100 patients a week on average, there's no reason why you can't make an extra 5 grand a month easy just by saying, okay, this is the patient that I would normally do soft tissue on. I'm going to take them in the back, hook them up on this machine. I'm going to be back there 4 or 5 minutes. I'm not going to beat up my hands, instead of doing this stuff for 45 minutes. Um, I'm not messing with a bunch of needles, doing dry needling, um, or any of the issues that come along with that. So um, that's kind of all I've done, really. And I mean, it's
Yeah.
helping my bottom line monthly pretty easy
Yeah.
without even having to try hard. So
How
um,
about how about the people? Are you finding some people are sending their friends in at this point?
yes, absolutely. I'm getting referrals for the machine at this point. So um, for somebody that was absolutely skeptical, and you've got to. I mean, I was born in Missouri. You got to show me at the end of the day. So, and you did show me how well, the radio machine worked well enough to get me to the point where I could get adjusted. But I would say this machine just long term. I've got one guy that's a golfer that doesn't want to be adjusted. He's one of those guys. But his wife comes in and I ran one on her. And so, he's got a shoulder injury and he's wanting to, so that's all he's coming in for. And I'm fine with making money. So, and I know it
Well,
works.
it's interesting because I find there's a lot of people that come into my office and they want nothing to do with the adjustment side. Side scares them to death.
Yeah.
But we're getting patients in the door now that we would have never had before.
And
Like,
they're easy to convert to chiropractic
oh,
patients because
absolutely. And a lot
once
of
you build
times,
the trust that I'm doing something positive for you, and I'm not going to do anything that's going to be a negative for you. As long
yeah,
as you're a competent adjuster, and not going to hurt a patient, it's really not hard to convert them into chiropractic patients. Which I feel like this machine kind of goes hand in hand because at the end of the day, my whole treatment philosophy has always been, you know, the adjustment is the most critical part to me, obviously, but if you don't relieve the tension in the soft tissues and all those adhesions and stuff, that adjustment's not going to hold very long.
yeah,
And it doesn't necessarily, these adhesions don't necessarily You know how like a leg problem can cause an SI joint or a hip problem all day long. So,
Right.
um, when they start seeing those effects, just the difference in the patient mentality, you get a higher level of trust. Truthfully,
Yeah.
it's not a hard sell. I've had it in here long enough that I've had some patients come back in and they're like, doc, I think it's time. We need to go back here and do another one.
Yeah.
And that's, as a matter of fact, that happened once this week with a female patient of mine. She's got a really bad fibromyalgia. And so we're constantly doing soft tissue on that
Yeah.
woman. And I am just adjusting, and we do one of these joint waves. I think it had been about 2.5 months when I did one this week on her versus the last time I'd done it. So um, I,
That's awesome because fibro patients are tough to work with sometimes, and
they
that's,
really are, but that's to me, if you can start getting those and getting them right, that you build reputations, that way. So um,
absolutely.
I'm I didn't really get into all this, but I'm actually a fourth generation chiropractor, and I was kind of raised into this, and I was definitely taught like you build your reputation through trust by providing a result that nobody else can give. And if you get them better quicker, they refer more people to you. And that has absolutely been the truth throughout my career.
Yeah.
And it's not like I've got the biggest practice in the world. I don't,
Yeah.
but I work as hard as I want to too. So
Right. And that's, that's kind of part of it is, part of this is we don't, in at the joint wave world over here, we don't want to just give you a machine and say good luck. Like
you
my
got
goal
to
is to
use a
help
machine
you.
if you're going to buy it. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
Oh yeah,
If
you're
you're going
going
to
to
make
use
this
it.
kind of investment. But the truth of the matter is if you're seeing 100 patients a week charging $100, you can probably get 20 of these done a month I mean, a week pretty easily.
Oh
And,
yeah.
then you're up to $8,000 a month. And then, 6 months later, you're paid off.
Just keep going. Just keep going. Right. Like
Yeah.
that's part of it. I mean, we don't want to just give you a machine and let it collect dust. I mean, we want to make sure that it's successful for guys that are buying one, but we
If
also
you
want
buy
to
this
help you
machine
with.
and let it collect dust, frankly, you're an idiot, truthfully, because I mean, the machine is going to make you money. It's going to provide a result that the patient wants. Like it works that well. And, after this, if you have somebody that wants to come into my office and see how it works, I'll show them how it works. Because, at the end of the day, as skeptical as I am when it comes to these things, the thing that proved it to me was when it was actually done to me and it worked. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And you
um,
know what? We kind of use the same philosophy in the office with people. We'll have them come in, we do a free consult, a free exam, and then, we do charge for that first one, but
yeah,
we charge a kind of a discounted fee so that they can actually experience
yeah,
it.
but
And
they'll pay for it. I mean,
oh,
it's
they
not.
will pay 100%. They love, I mean, very few people have actually said it didn't really help very much or something
Well,
like
the
that. But
ones
it's,
that it didn't help have been surgical cases for me.
yes,
One
absolutely.
one specifically was a torn meniscus. Had a torn labrum in the shoulder and a torn labrum in the hip that didn't work. But I can only think, after I guess I've had a machine operational in the office. Well, for 6 months. I've really had one for 8 months. I had some downtime between the two because the Chattanooga machine, the handles quit working, and I was in the process of getting this joint wave from you. So I mean that machine still. I'm going to have to replace the head on that before I sell it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
uh, but you
Good
know,
timing that you got this other one then, I guess.
yeah, it really was pretty fortunate timing there. But yeah, I
I
mean
could even see
that's
I could even see because we're wanting to help guys with the marketing and kind of get that going too, because even in your own practice, you're gonna be able to make money. But if we start actually doing some advertising things that kind of helping people get along with that, like as far as Facebook ads or helping with AdWords or a website or all that kind of stuff. We like want to package all that up so when people get a machine, they just kind of have to like be able to sell it when people, and you really don't have to sell it. Like that's kind of the beautiful part is if you are able to sit down with someone and kind of get an idea where the problem's at and just kind of let the machine do all the work. Like
Yeah.
it sells itself essentially. Like you
Yeah,
really,
the simple economics that I can come up with off the top of my head, because this was a little bit of an issue. I didn't plan very well for this at the end of last year, and I think it was going. I think I got it in September is when I got it, and we slowed down with it a little bit in December because the office slowed down. You know, but when April rolled around, I had an extra $10,000 in taxes I had to pay, and the only thing I can attribute to that is was making that much more money on the Shockwave.
yeah.
Because I do my books every month. I'm tracking QuickBooks and all that stuff, but I just didn't really. And truthfully, that's a lot of that's my stupidity when it comes to that. But I ended up, I was expecting to pay this much in taxes, and next thing you know, no, you got another $10,000 you got to send to Uncle Sam this year.
Well, we
So
need to find out how to help that issue, but that's a different issue.
yeah, I need to talk to my accountant a little bit more because I didn't realize I was going to hit a new tax bracket there. So, um, but again, that was my fault. But that actually did happen. So,
Well, if
you know,
it's okay, man, I'm going to put your information or your phone number on the bottom of this video so that if somebody does have questions or they just want to pick your brain for a few minutes, not that you're able 24/7, but maybe send
yeah.
you a text and,
Yeah,
instead of
you
trying
better
to work.
text me first because and tell me who you are and what you want because I don't answer phone numbers that aren't stored. That's what I tell patients when I give out my cell phone number. Like if I got somebody that's in a bad shape and I don't want them to go all weekend without being able to get me into the office if it's necessary, I'll give them my cell phone. But I tell them you better text because I don't answer calls that from people aren't stored in
Yeah.
my phone.
It's
So
too much spam today. I get a bunch of it as well, so I get that
yeah,
completely.
yep,
Well, guys, I hope this helped you. If you have any questions, reach out to Art. He'll be able to answer. He's real time. So I do it too. Obviously, in my office, we use the joint wave in my office all the time, every day, uh, pretty much all day long, actually. But obviously, reach out to Art, see what some kind of questions you might have, and we'll go from there. So, Art, I appreciate you being able to take some time with us today and just go over that and kind of tell everybody your experience.
yes, sir. And again, get in touch with me. I'll tell you the same thing. I mean, you're going to hear the same thing the day I talk to you. Other than the fact that I will have used the machine more by then. But I think this has definitely convinced me that I can practice as long as I want to. You know,
Yeah.
so
That's a good feeling because when I actually got into it because of a shoulder injury myself, and it's torture, like trying to adjust somebody and you're hurting, and it's
I
even
tell patients all the time the irony of chiropractic is being a chiropractor is really hard on your joints. So
it is. Oh,
it's the absolute
absolutely.
truth.
Yeah,
I,
and it's
I
it
remember, we went to Logan, so I'll never forget seeing Dr. Borelli's fingers like they were like that because he'd done so many cervical adjustments, and Dr. Filson's hands were really messed up, and he was the team chiropractor of every major sports team in St. Louis. So those guys did a lot of adjusting, and were
yeah,
obviously
it's
great people to learn from, but
sure.
I'm.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of funny because I think a lot of people think they're going to get one of these machines and they're just going to like stop adjusting. That doesn't have to. You can
No,
tweak your practice however you want. I mean, if you want to have a lot of this and less adjusting, like I kind of did that in my practice. I used to just be adjusting, and we
mm,
went from like a very high volume type of practice to probably a lower volume, and collections continue to rise. So
yeah. You
it's
can
been
definitely
a
do that with the machine. I mean, I'm
beautiful.
never not going to adjust everybody that comes in my door. I'm that
Sure.
chiropractor. Like I'm as straight as they come when it comes to that stuff. But I say straight, but it's just when I say straight with my kind of philosophy, my philosophy has always revolved around the straight side of chiropractic, but also soft tissue work because I want to do what works. Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want the result that the patient wants. Again, that goes back to just the way I was taught how to do this, more so than the stuff that I learned from school. I remember, hooking up people to E-stim and doing ultrasounds and all that. And all that stuff was just temporary,
Yeah.
the intersegmental traction machines and all that. And that's nice. It makes them feel get better. And then you take them in and adjust them. And that's actually what fixes them. This
Yeah.
thing could stand alone and work, but if you want a tremendous result, do this with
Yeah.
an adjustment.
Well, and a
And
lot of times I find that like even with a knee problem, like it can go up into the IT band, it can go into the hip, it can go into the SI joint, like it's all interconnected, right? So like anytime that happens, if somebody comes with a knee problem and that's all they want it, they don't want me to touch anything else, that's fine too. But like I tell them, like you have this issue and it's to get this thing corrected the right way, this is really what we need to do. And
well,
it's just how it is.
Borelli and Filson and Cranwell always, they always preach, look at above and below the joint in the muscle
Yeah.
tissue, you'll
Yeah.
find it. And that's how this works. I mean,
100%.
if you have a knee issue, you're going to find something in the hamstring or the quad, and that's going to affect the SI joint or the hip flexor. And, if
It goes so well together and
yeah,
paired together. I think there's a synergistic, and it is in my opinion, it is very chiropractic because if I just adjusted that hip and that soft tissue is going to stay angry, it's coming back. That hip pain is going to come back, and it's
if this is the last thought that I can leave you with, if you've gotten tired of spending 20, 30, 40 minutes blowing up your hands doing soft tissue, trying to get as good a result as you can for that patient, you can do that in 5 minutes with this machine and do an adjustment. You're much more effective on your time, and you just made more money doing this, and you didn't screw up your hands. So that's the bottom line at the end of the day. If you can't make that work in your practice, then probably can't make too many things work in your practice.
yeah, so true, man.
Yeah.
That's and that same kind of I always call it the deer in the headlight look when they get like a really good adjustment and they come up off the table. If they have that
Yeah.
same thing happen with a knee or a shoulder, they give you that same kind of like, is this real look? Like this,
Yeah.
I
Yeah. I
can
mean, if
actually
you, yeah,
move my shoulder again or whatever.
when you get the deeper set on the adjustments because you've released soft tissue, that's exactly what you're talking about. And it's like flipping the breaker switch back on. Like,
Yeah,
the best thing to me, I've got a guy that adjusts me once a week now. And that guy, and this is just recently because I finally found somebody that our schedules work well, and he can actually adjust me pretty well. But I was walking out there the other day thinking, my God, I can breathe a lot better, just
yeah,
from a thoracic adjustment. So there is a lot of power in what we do. You're not going to replace. This machine isn't going to replace what can happen with an adjustment, but by God, you can make it work however you want to.
yeah.
So it is
Awesome.
definitely something that facilitates what you do in your office. So if you know how to look above and below a joint, which you should by now, if you've been practicing long enough, you've probably figured a lot of that stuff out, and
Yeah,
it will definitely help. It will definitely
awesome.
help.
Thank you, Art. Appreciate you, brother.
You're welcome.
All right, man. We'll talk soon, buddy.
All right. Have a good day.
You too.